All right, everybody, welcome back to the Deep Life Podcast. And today we have a very special guest, Jayne Sanders. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Jayne, you are a Master Scientific Hand Analyst, and I am so excited to dive deep with you. I want to first off the bat say that this is different than palm reading, which we're going to get into, and I'd love for you to explain that. But this analysis really of our hand is how the pathways of our hand mimic the neural pathways in our brain. Is that correct?
Yeah, the lines in your hands mimic the neural pathways in your brain.
My mind is already blown.
No.
I can't wait to dive
Now, do
deep.
I know which line goes with which neural? No.
Okay. All right.
And it doesn't matter, right?
If you would so lovingly please share with us how you began doing this, what prompted it? You know, have you always done this? I think you started off kind of as maybe working in a corporate office setting and then transitioned. So we'd love to hear a little background on how this began for you.
You bet. No, this has been the last 12 years in this work. But yes, I started in sales and marketing, corporate MBA, and had 3 different careers. And each one would just hit a point, kind of boredom. I just knew there was something else for me, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And I did work with a career coach, and I guess I'm dense. I don't know. It didn't help me any. And my last career, I was a professional speaker and trainer and facilitator in the corporate world. I mean, my own business, but working for corporations. That lasted longer. And I realized after I got my hand analysis, it was because it lasted longer because it was closer to purpose for me, but still not close enough to keep me engaged. So anyway, as my heart pulled away from the business, so did the revenue. And I was just in this downward spiral, and, I got one of those cosmic 2x4s, and both of my parents passed away within 3 months of each other. It was just a real wake-up call. It's like, gosh, life is short, and I need to quit farting around and take this seriously. So I started Googling, how do I find my life purpose? And went down a couple of wrong paths or things that didn't work for me. And after a few months, ran across a headline for a teleseminar, and it read, "Discover your innate life purpose." Oh man, I couldn't click on that sucker fast enough. And the first words that popped up were hand analysis. And I was so disappointed. I was like, palm reading's great. There are good palm readers, but this is not going to give me what I'm looking for. And then I saw the word scientific. So I held on to that word and let it put aside my anal MBA skepticism, listened to the teleseminar, and gosh, it just made sense. And I really wanted my purpose after 3 failed careers, pretty much. So I got it done, listened to it, as I mentioned, and then had it done. And I mean, it was like, oh my God, no wonder those things in my life didn't work, but those did. And no wonder I liked those, but I didn't like those. And no wonder I made that decision. And no wonder this pattern keeps happening. And I mean, it just was mind blowing. And I have goosebumps when I talk about it. And everything that was discussed, even things I'd never thought about before, resonated, made sense. I knew it was right. Even the purpose, which I didn't know what to do with it yet, because it's not a job description. That would be cuckoo. And everybody has options of what work will fulfill their purpose or align with it. But it just, holy moly. And I knew if I took action on it, because it is actionable information, I would figure it out, what it was I was meant to do. And that's exactly what happened. I just started taking action on things called the blind spots, which are student paths. We'll talk about that later, but it was just amazing. And within a few months, I was like, oh my God, if I was so lit up and inspired before I even knew what to do with it, I want to help people feel like that. So I
Oh,
started studying it and
okay,
started doing
wonderful.
it after my first certification. And I've got all 4, which is the highest, and then a master, which is just the sheer number, at least 1,000 hand analysis that I've done.
Wow. I feel like I can already tap into your energy of it, of this purpose that's, oh my gosh, coming through. Like, yeah, you can feel it. That's wonderful. And I know you mentioned, some of the career paths that didn't work out. Maybe they did all work out perfectly to get you to this point
You
of,
know, and the thing is
that.
too, I use bits of things that I
Yeah.
learned in every career. So I do not feel like I wasted time in
Yeah.
those. I mean, yes, I found this later in life, but I probably wasn't ready earlier in life.
Right.
So
Absolutely. When the student is ready, the
yeah,
teacher appears. So
that is
yeah,
so
I
true.
love that. Yeah. So I'd love for you to just distinguish what the difference is between palm reading
Okay.
and the hand analysis, and then tell us a little bit about your studies and how long it took you to get all these certifications.
Okay. The main difference is that palm reading, to a great degree, relies on the intuitive level of the reader and the intuitive capacity.
Mhm.
So, and there's a lot of future stuff. You're going to get married this time, and how many times, and how many kids, and when, and a lot of when stuff. And there are no predictions with scientific hand analysis.
Okay.
I've had people ask me, I've had women say, when am I going to meet Mr. Right? And I'm like, I have no idea, but I can tell you what to work on to make that more possible. And so that's the main thing. The scientific hand analysis is a learnable database. The founder spent 40 years.
Oh, wow.
Talk about anal.
Yeah.
And analyzed over 30,000 hands to put this database together. So
Wow.
anybody can learn it.
Okay.
It's a binder like that thick, because everything means something. So and it's so accurate, by the way, that Forbes wrote about it.
I know. I can't wait to get into that as well. Yes.
Okay, I'll let that go there. But that's the main difference. One's very intuitive, and there's some words and names of things that overlap with the two, but the accuracy of scientific hand analysis is far beyond.
Yeah. So when you were studying all of this, and I know that obviously there is a person or whoever did this 40,000, hours of. Now, is it the same system, or did you develop your own? Like, I
Oh,
know
no,
it's all the same information, but is it universal?
it's universal for a
Okay.
scientific hand analyst.
Okay.
Now, I've changed the names of some things, but
Okay.
not the information.
Okay.
Yeah, this guy was amazing. It's a very robust and reliable.
Do you know how he figured this out? Like how
He just kept, he did a lot of research, and here's how it started. He was walking through the library in New York City, and a book fell out, and it was on hand reading. So it got his curiosity up. It literally fell on the floor in front of him. You know how the universe works.
I was just gonna say, talk about a sign.
So he just started making note of all the different marks, and like he'd find 10 people that had the same mark. And if they didn't have the same characteristic, because he was interviewing and looking at marks and, markings and all this. And if somebody didn't fit, he'd throw the marking out, so he was just really, really picky, very detailed about it. And 40 years, good God.
Yes. Yeah. 40 years is what I meant to say. I said 40,000 something. Yeah.
Right. No, I know what you meant. Yeah.
Is it just looking at just the lines on the hand, or is there more to it? Is it
more to it?
Okay, do tell us.
Can you guys explain a little bit?
Everything matters. Everything, there's information. We get a lot from fingerprints.
Oh.
And those are formed in utero before you're even born. And then, of course, never change throughout your life. Right?
Yeah.
I'd be in deep doo-doo. And that means that the information that I get about you from your fingerprints won't change either. It's the core of who you are. So we get some big pieces from fingerprints. Then all the lines, the shape of your hand, the size of the different areas of the hand, where the fingers are attached to the palm, the difference sometimes on how they print, because sometimes the finger like does that means
Yep.
something.
Okay.
Everything, or sometimes the thumb is like this and sometimes it's like this. That means something. So, you know, even the color of your flesh, because some are more yellow, some are more pink, some are more white. But I do all my work by hand print, so I never look at the color of the hands because to me it's not that important. But
Okay.
every little thing, and very importantly too, the ridges of the skin in your palm. Because like I would say 75% of my clients, and that's can I say shit ton on this show?
That is,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, you can say
absolutely.
anything.
I mean, I have a shit ton of clients, and about 75% of them have fingerprints in their palm.
Get out.
I know, and they don't even know it. And remember, everything means something. So
Yeah.
that comes into play. It comes into the whole system. You know,
Wow.
it's just so cool.
This might sound like a dumb question, but do the lines on our hand change, or are they like
They
fingerprints
can.
where it's always there? They do.
So excellent
I don't think I ever
question.
knew
No,
that.
obviously the fingerprints won't.
Right.
But if you, over time, really change your way of thinking, your behavior, your neural pathways are going to
Yes.
change.
Yeah.
So that can change stuff in your hands, but you'd likely not notice it.
Okay. That makes sense. I wouldn't know if these were different from yesterday. I don't think.
Because it could be a little thing. Now, let me give you a perfect example. So, how can I do this short?
It can be long.
Take your
Take your time.
Okay. All right. So the uppermost horizontal line that starts over here by the pinky and goes across the top of your hand, that's referred to as your heart line. It's your relationship style.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. And there's 4 different types. People are often a mix of each. I'm a mix of 2. One is called a social hermit. And the other is a big heart. And a big heart, I think that's all you need to know for this, is all about helping people. Right? Love, connection, nurturing, helping people, picking up strays, the whole bit, whatever that looks like. Well, a few years ago, in my right hand, which is right is what people see, it's your business, it's how you project to the world. Left is inner, close-knit family, close-knit community, personal things. My right hand, the hermit on my right hand has grown to a full big heart, because that's what people see me as, is helping others.
Wow.
Oh my God.
When I first saw that, I was like, holy cow. I mean, and I don't know, I didn't watch it grow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I know. So that's an example of what could happen. And only because I'm a hand analyst would I even know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've done it enough and looked at it.
You could have had changes in your hands, but you won't know it really.
No, I'm so glad that Dan brought that point up and that you were able to answer that, because I know as we briefly were talking before starting recording the show, I asked you if you knew who Dr. Joe Dispenza is, which he's all about rewiring the neural pathways in our brain. He kind of says, your personality dictates your personal reality. And to change your personal reality, you must change your personality. And I feel Dan and I know we didn't talk too much about this, but Dan and I have been together for 19 years. I certainly am not the same person that I was when I met him. And I feel I've done a lot of work as I feel on my wellness journey. So I was thinking, I wonder if these lines on our hands ever change.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, it's just fascinating. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Something on that same line, which I think you'll find interesting.
Yes.
When you injure your hand, finger, where matters, because whatever that location means, but location is really important in the hands. So it's not only the marking itself, but where it is.
Really?
The marking within context of other markings can tell me how important it is, but the location tells me what it means. So if you smash this in a car door, means a totally different thing than smashing this one or this one or this one or this one.
Yeah.
Or if you cut your hand here, that's a different message than if you cut it here. So it's
Isn't
that
it just-
area, whatever it means, trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The body's so amazing.
I just,
But this whole thing, like this whole
I
game we're playing
know.
is amazing.
yeah,
I mean,
I feel
people
like
read faces and ears and eyes, and I've
Yeah.
been asked several times, "Oh, do you read feet?" And I'm like, no, I think I'll stick with hands. Thank you.
That's a different thing.
don't blame you on that. I've
Yeah,
never been a foot person. I'm trying to get to it, but I
No.
can't. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, but look at reflexology. I mean, every point,
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, amazing
Um,
what, I
yeah.
mean, to me, that's what God has done. He's trying to help us
Yeah, that's it.
live our best lives and make the difference we're meant to make in the world. We just got to pay attention.
Mhm. Yeah, like this reminds me so much of astrology, and I used to be very skeptical of astrology, but I think that like as my awareness of how things work has increased, I realized that I'm not a separate person who just happens to live under the stars, that I'm
Yeah.
connected to them, and that they're me and I'm them. So obviously, like a snapshot of the sky at the moment I was born is going to have relevance to my life, and it makes sense that why wouldn't the lines on my hand have relevance if the stars do? It just makes perfect sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there's overlap in the information,
Yeah,
right?
I
I mean,
believe it.
astrology is a science. I mean, it's the science of the planets.
Yeah.
Numerology is the science of the numbers. You know, all this stuff, it's all these modalities that are so helpful and exist for a reason. The geniuses that figured these out. Wasn't me, I'm just doing it, right?
You're the vehicle for the information to come through and to pass on to others to better be in service. Really, I think that's, yeah. And I love this conversation, and that really encompasses what the deep life is. We're trying to better understand who we are. Like, who am I at the core level? You know, releasing, you know, my name and the labels that I placed on myself, the different masks that I wear. And Jayne, you've blown my mind with, I've never thought as fingerprints as being such almost like a blueprint for our inner landscape.
Oh, what a beautifully way to say that. And I will tell you too, and I had this thought and then just got chills. So the fingerprints are formed at 14 to 16 weeks in the womb, which is the same time that the spiritual gurus say the soul enters the embryo. Do you have goosebumps or what?
That, you know, there's something.
So soul decides what your purpose is in this lifetime, what your biggest challenge is going to be, because that's another huge piece of information you get from a hand analysis, and a huge part of who you are. You know, comes from, I mean, it's just like, what?
Yeah, gosh, oh my gosh, there's so many different directions we could go in, but I think what I'd like to talk about is kind of the possibilities of life purposes and these hand analysis, like what comes up for them, for people, for your clients. And I'd love to know if you please answer that, and answer that, and then I'll hold my question.
Don't forget it. Don't forget it.
Yeah, I won't.
As far as specifically purpose, there are hundreds of possibilities.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Not like one of 9, you know, or one of 7 or something like that. There are pieces like the heart lines, it's one of 4, but usually you're a mix. But okay, so examples, and it could be 1 fingerprint.
Okay.
Or it could be 14. You know, because if you've got some in each hand, and some people do, or any combination thereof, and that's why there's, you know, so many possibilities, and each location means something different.
Okay.
So, for example, if it's like the right index finger alone, that alone, the purpose is referred to as visionary leader.
Okay.
Somebody who has a lot of natural influence, drive.
That makes sense.
Ambition, somebody that has natural leadership.
Okay.
To use that to make a difference. Now, also keep in mind, everything in the hands has a master path, which I just told you for that one thing, and a student path. And nobody can be on the master path of anything 100% of the time. darn.
Right.
Okay.
Right, we're works in progress, right? We're humans.
Mhm.
So the student path that goes with the visionary leader is referred to as powerlessness and overwhelm. It's not owning that natural power you have, not stepping into it. People can't see it. It's giving it away. It's working behind the scenes to help somebody else get in power when you need to be the one in power. And anytime we're not owning our power, we're going to get overwhelmed, because then stuff just overwhelms us because we're not in our power. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the student path usually related to the master path? Like is like a shadow aspect of it, or is it different parts of your life? Or there'll be one part of your life where you're on a master path and another part where you have to work on the student path.
Okay, let me figure out how to answer that. You can be on master path and student path of the same marking at the same time, because
Okay.
master path or student path can show up in different ways. So you may be on the master path in one aspect of your life, but in another one, be on the student path. In other words, you may be a great leader in the company where you work, but not so much in your personal life. Does that
That
help?
makes sense. Yes,
Okay.
it does. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That is very helpful for you to describe that. So the other question I was going to say is, if you've seen, because you've worked with thousands of people, certain patterns that are associated, not necessarily like, well, with the lines, of course, but if you've seen like almost groupings of people that, are either struggling in one area or need to work on something in another area, or their life purpose is the same in a way, like kind of like astrology. Like we've got like the Libras, the Aries, and they're kind of grouped into these, like if there's patterns that show up in the same way almost.
Well, I hesitate on that because it sort of gets in the area of stereotypes.
Right, that's true. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
true.
And
So
yeah.
not really. No,
I
that's
mean,
okay.
I
Yeah.
have seen a little bit of that because I do have clients in 12 countries. So
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of that, but not much. More of what I've seen is the genetic possibilities, where
Oh, okay.
a child will have the same purpose or a similar something that a parent does. So their genetics definitely matter.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's interesting.
That is really interesting. I'd love to dive into that a little bit. I wonder if, that's kind of generationally linear, what's the word I'm looking for? Lineage.
Yeah, I mean, and here's what I always say. I just think as a parent, how empowering it would be to know what your child's purpose is, so you can gently
Mhm.
guide them that way, and also what their biggest challenge is, which we call the life lesson, which is always everybody's number one challenge that impacts them 360. They just don't necessarily see it in every different aspect. But as a parent, to know what that is and help guide them through that, I just think that'd be really empowering. And I've done a lot of kids.
Have you? That's really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That was going to be my next question. When you said the kids, is there a specific age once, your hand is completely either developed or matured, that the fingerprints are exactly as they are, the lines? Is it 10 years old, 12 years old, 4 years old?
They can always change.
Okay.
So the fingerprints are set. I can do
So,
a new
yeah.
one,
Mhm.
and that will never change.
Okay.
From that, they get the core of their purpose, because I do purpose in two ways: the core and then an expanded version. And you can ask me about that later if you want.
Yes, please.
That
Yes.
sounded snotty. I didn't mean it that way. And the life lesson, which is the biggest tripping point, the number one obstacle that keeps people from living in alignment with their purpose, which in my mind is the only way to that deeper and more consistent joy and fulfillment that everybody craves.
Mhm.
Everybody goes for happy. It's really fulfillment
Yeah.
that does it.
Ooh,
So
I love the distinction that you made there.
yeah, I just and then I talked myself out of where I was going. Oh yeah, so a baby is born so I can see their purpose, their life lesson, and another big piece of information that's called the life school. And that's like if you were a computer, it would be your operating system.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
It's the filter through which we experience life. You know, it's a big deal, and there's only 4 options, but it's a huge part of who we are. And most people are in one school, many are in 2, some are even in 3.
Oh, wow.
So it also tells you what you need to learn, what your
Yeah.
natural skills and talents are to help you fulfill your purpose, and
Mhm.
some of what you need to learn in order to
Mm.
fulfill your purpose, i.e. the student paths of your school.
You kind of like you started to touch on a little bit before, but like how can people really benefit from like I know you when you
Yeah.
got yours, you discovered your purpose and your life changed.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that seems to be pretty universal when people when
Yeah.
people get their hands read or come to you and have the hand analysis?
Well, some people, there's lots of different reasons to do it. A
Mm.
lot of
Mhm.
people do it to discover their purpose because they know they're not on it. Some
Mm.
people do it to confirm that they are in alignment, and that can be extraordinarily life-changing because it gives them the confidence, because an outside expert found it in their own hands,
Yeah.
to really step into it and own who they are and how they're meant to make a difference. And that has just blossomed people and businesses. So if you take action on it, if you found out what your purpose is and you know it's right, you just got to take action on it and work it out. I used to purpose coach on that, but I don't anymore. Yeah, there was another point I was going to make, but I talked myself out of my.
That's okay.
It will naturally, organically come to you, I bet, at the
What was
time.
your question again, Dan?
Was you answered most of it. The other part I want to almost lean into is like what benefits are there to discovering your purpose, and how have you seen people's
Yeah.
lives changed from it?
So they just step into it, and the confidence into their lives. And if they don't know what it looks like in terms of work, and by the way, the purpose doesn't have to be your work,
Sure, yeah.
Mhm.
right? It can be volunteer stuff. It can just be how you deal with your family and your communities, and it doesn't have to be official work. I suppose in a perfect world, that'd be best because it's where we spend most of our time.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
you're going to be, I think, happier and more fulfilled. So yeah, just finding that out and then taking action on those student paths, and particularly the life lesson, which if you ever get rid of any of those, again, because nobody can be on the master 100% of anything, but the idea is to maximize master and minimize student.
Sure.
Okay.
And you know what the student path looks like, because I tell you what the master path looks like, what the student path looks like. And then when you see that, you go, okay, I'm on student path. What do I need to do to get on the master path in this moment? And it's usually stopping what you're doing or doing the opposite, or, it's usually pretty obvious.
Mhm. Okay.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sure.
that was really helpful. I was curious too, with the hand analysis, and you do your reading and understanding it, and you give them all this information. Say you give your clients that, then what? Kind of like there's actionable steps.
Right.
They've, your clients have either left like, okay, yes, I'm on the path to my purpose. I'm learning my life lessons, or the opposite. All right, I've got maybe some deeper questions to ask myself, some reevaluating. Yeah, kind of what happens next.
So that you've named several of them. So
Okay.
it depends on where you are when you get the reading.
Okay,
So
sure.
if you have confirmed that you're on purpose, then you stay there as long
Yeah,
as you love what you're doing. That's another big piece, and I have nothing to do with that.
sure.
So, as long as you love what you're doing, then stay there. Then your job is to take action on your student paths and try to minimize them. And
Oh, okay.
that's helpful for everybody. That's when I said, when I take action on mine to figure out how to do my purpose, that's what I did. I took action on my student paths.
Okay.
And was working on my life lesson, because I just knew that's, like I said, that's how the universe works. God rewards action. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could
And
you give us
if you-
an example? Could you give us an example of like what type of student path somebody might get, or like what somebody might get as a student path or a life lesson?
Oh, sure. It's because student paths, we have gobs, right?
Okay.
Every marking has a student path. So
Okay.
holy shit, you know, a whole but as I mentioned, the student path of this is not owning your power,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
Giving it away.
Yep.
So another common one, I don't know if I'd say common, but you know, more common than some of the others, fear of
Sure.
rejection.
Oh,
Okay.
fear of rejection.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Gotcha.
Kind of a
Yeah.
human condition, isn't it? And
Yep. Absolutely.
so it's amazing how, first of all, how sneaky fear of rejection is. And secondly, how unconsciously clever we are to strategize to avoid being rejected.
Mhm.
So a lot, you know what, I'm going to tell you a perfect example of that is procrastination.
Mm.
Yeah.
See how that works? And then
Yep.
a lot of people have, you know, we are creatures, C-E-R-A. So we're very creative. And some
Yes.
people have a ton of creativity in their hands and they don't know they're creative. Or they don't know, they're not owning it. So see, here's the thing, if they don't own it, then they're not going to be doing it. Well, then it can't possibly get rejected. See how clever that is? But they're
Yeah.
not, it's not conscious.
Yeah. It's not a conscious choice.
I actually love that you pointed that out.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. We have all these unconscious and subconscious patterns that typically run our lives, which we have developed from a very young age to be
Right. To protect
accepted.
ourselves, we
Yes.
think.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So can you also, because I know that you mentioned, you know, purpose as being a big factor why people would like to get, you know, the hand analysis, but
Right.
it's almost you have to go through your life lesson first to kind of get that. Did I hear you right on that?
Well, I mean, a lot of analysts call the life lesson the key to your hand, because without taking steps to work on your life lesson, it's very challenging to live in alignment with purpose.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Yes,
some
break
people
that down
say
for us. Yeah.
To get to purpose, you have to go through your life lesson.
Okay.
So, but you're never going to be done with your life lesson. It's always going to be back and forth. So I don't want people to think I have to cure my life lesson, because it's impossible.
Okay, that's
Right.
good to know.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and getting, it's kind of which comes first, but also getting in alignment with your purpose and aiming toward that automatically helps a little bit work on your life lesson.
That makes sense as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like showing you the blind spots that you're
Yeah.
missing
the big
along the
blind
way.
spot. It's the booger. It's the number one obstacle.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know how many, dozens of student paths life lesson, because I have so many markings. So, you know, lots of student paths, but it's the life lesson that kicks me in the butt.
Okay.
And I wondered too, as you're describing it and you know, helping people, it really seems like this is just such a wonderful way to become more self-aware.
That's what I was just going to say.
Oh, okay, fabulous. Go ahead.
Other reasons to get this is to just, it's personal growth, self-awareness, how to make your life even better than it already is, or how to make it better if it sucks, wherever you are, by taking action on those things. So it's just so much about who you are and where you're meant to go, how you're meant to make a difference in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so like fascinated and
I
excited.
know we're
about
definitely
this.
going to be
So
doing
cool.
this. I'm very excited because
It's just
you know,
so exciting to do such powerful work. I'm so grateful that I found it.
tell us kind of really breaking down like how it actually works. Like, do you, with your clients, is it a Zoom session? Are they taking a picture? Is there a print? Like, how does it actually work?
I use hand prints.
Okay.
So I send a kit, which is a big white envelope, and it's got instructions and ink sheets.
Oh.
So you take your prints, send them back to me. I scan them in. Then we do a 1 hour I've got it prepared before that 1 hour Zoom call, and I can show them the markings that I'm talking about, which is fascinating to know. Oh, that means that, and it's recorded. So they get that recording and a summary report, which is 3 or 4 pages. And then a second Zoom call after they've had time to watch the recording.
Oh, okay.
That's asking a lot of people, but if they get to that second call and they haven't watched the recording, I won't do the call.
That's understandable.
Reschedule it, because it's a fire hose, and I'm talking and you're thinking about how that applies to your life, and I'm still talking. It's impossible to take it all in. And there's so much that I think, I would guess you could listen to it 4 or 5 times and still pick up something different every time.
Yeah, I believe it. Just looking at my hand, it's like there's so much.
Exactly. And the second call is to answer questions, and help them prioritize action.
Okay.
Cool.
That's wonderful.
People go, well, if I've got, 40 student paths, how am I supposed to? I'm like, don't, just focus on the life lesson and on the student paths of your purpose and your school. And those are going to take you a long way. And then because anytime something doesn't feel good or isn't flowing or whatever, look and see what student path you're on, because there'll be at least one. And if it doesn't fit those 3 big markings, then look at other markings that, because I always put in what the student paths are.
Yeah. Awesome. I want to get into the Forbes for sure, because I think that that's fascinating. Why Forbes featured you. Okay. Forbes. Yeah. But before we do that, what I just get so excited about too. And I think that how this is, I don't want to use the word more appealing, but that's just the one coming to me, more appealing than a palm reading, as you described, that is really more reliant on the intuitive nature of the person giving the reading. I am sure there are a plethora of fabulous intuitive palm readers. I know intuitive channels. I've worked with people like that. I haven't ever got my palm read. But that, to me, in just my opinion, it does lend itself for the other person to almost be in the driver's seat, telling you what's going on. Where here, it's your hand. This is scientifically, there is no one's guessing or intuitively telling you your path. This is actually giving you the power to look at it and change and make any necessary adjustments to your life.
To take action.
It's very empowering. You're not giving your power away to someone to say, hey, read my palm and tell me when I'm going to marry my, beloved. This is so much more empowering. And I feel so much of our power is either taken away or we give it away because we almost don't trust that intuitive nature within ourselves. And this is no, you've got it. It's right here. It's on you. It's a part of you.
Yeah. Well, in my experience it's much deeper.
Yes. It seems
comprehensive. Again, no future stuff. And it is completely independent of what somebody's thinking, saying, doing, wanting, wishing. And you've probably heard of the professional personality test, Myers-Briggs, DISC, all those, and they've all got a place. But people can trick those, and people want certain, they want to be a ID or whatever, and answer questions to try to get to that. Or the mood they're in that day is different, and it's questions differently. So this is completely independent of any of that. And usually I don't know the person other than I met them to take the payment for their analysis at a speaking engagement, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I feel with Myers-Briggs and that kind of stuff, even when people don't know that they're manipulating the test, they do it because they
Right.
want to perceive themselves in a certain way, but they don't
Right.
see their own blind spots.
And it also, I'm so glad you said that, because it's also relies a lot on their true degree of self-awareness.
Yep.
And this has
Yeah.
nothing to do with what anybody thinks or says or whatever. Sometimes when I've already done the analysis, right? I'm just telling them what I've seen. They'll tell me why that's right or how they see it in their life, which is fine. They just need to say that, and that's cool. But it's like, this is done. And
You don't need to justify it.
no, rarely, and I mean less than 1%, there are some people who just can't own it.
I was going to ask if you've ever received pushback.
Well, I don't know, only one time, and I'm so sorry to say, but that gentleman needed help. Seriously. Somebody bought it for him for a gift, so it wasn't his idea anyway.
Oh, okay.
Most people
They knew he needed help. It just wasn't the right help.
But that wasn't the kind of help he needed, and I couldn't give him the kind of help he needed. But I mean, like a few weeks ago, somebody just couldn't identify with her purpose. That happens so rarely, but I mean, really less than 1%.
That's really interesting.
That is really interesting. Yes, let's talk about the Forbes article and why they featured, and kind of, because this really could be, and probably is, obviously, because you've done thousands, revolutionary for leaders, executives, people who are, visionaries, like you were saying. So let's get into that. I'd love to hear more about that.
It's kind of a little goofy story, but I sat next to the reporter at a conference.
Okay.
And when I, like when I speak, and sometimes when I meet with people, I'll give them just a little mini reading. I call them MINI. And actually, when I speak, I give everybody who wants one, which sometimes means I'm sitting there for 2 hours, which is fine. So I gave her one, and she was blown away, like everybody always is. And she said, I'm getting ready to do a real big project with somebody who's very well known in the internet marketing space. If you do a hand analysis for us, for both of us, and tell us who should be doing which aspects of this project and what we need to watch out for working together, and it makes sense to me, I'll write an article for you.
Wow, that's so cool.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
And really, the article was very, very careful.
I'm sure, yeah.
It touched very lightly, but just the fact that Forbes wrote about it, boy, has that had legs.
Yeah, it seems like an area Forbes doesn't touch. So
it was
showed them something.
It was very careful.
Yeah.
Didn't glow about it, and like people do, just I would say probably 30% of my clients cry because they feel so seen and so understood, and sometimes I can tell that they're getting ready to sometimes, because I feel it,
No, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's so amazing that like you're able to do that, touch people in that way, and provide such an amazing gift to people.
Aren't I lucky that I found it?
Really.
I mean, I didn't make the stuff. I just found the silly headline in Google. But I did take action.
Yeah, which is a great lesson for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just so fascinating. We've touched upon it a couple of times. The universe, God, creator, source, whatever you want to,
whatever you call it.
Yeah, whatever floats your boat. Absolutely. It's kind of funny. They've given us so many clues to say, hey, I'm going to tell you who you are in plain sight.
I know.
I mean,
I just
always says,
I pictured God up there.
Yeah.
I can give you a map on your hand.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, Dan has this phrase. He always says, like, everything is everything. And I mean, it kind of fits so beautifully in this that, hello, the neural pathways in your brain are going to show up on your hand. You can literally see it. So yeah, you can't see in your brain, but you're going to have a really good idea of how you can, I don't even want to say work on yourself, better understand yourself, love yourself, accept it, get excited about what the possibilities of learning through this earth school, soul school, whatever you'd like to call it here, like that we're all on this journey for. And then once we do have, purposes that unfold, how that can possibly better serve others, as you're so beautifully demonstrating here. Yeah, the witness of it is just magical.
I just love it. Just love it.
So we're hitting our time mark here, and I just want to make sure that we kind of open the space up, though, because we've covered a lot, and I feel like there's probably so much more that you can share and tell us about. But are there any other additional points that you want to make, just come across, for our listeners, for our audience, or even for us to better understand, the profound nature of this?
I think the best way for me to answer that is to think of questions that I get. So
yeah, please. Yeah.
Do you look at both hands or just one? And I'm like,
that's a great question. Yeah.
Otherwise,
I figured both.
Half of you. I need both, or otherwise I only see half of you.
Mm-hmm.
And another question is, do I need more than one?
Oh,
so
okay.
The way I do them, no. Unless you're young, like no older than 21. But because, yes, babies are born with fingerprints and they're major lines, but that's something to bring up. Thank you very much. There are markings called gift markings. Those are indications of extra potential talent in different parts of your life. And they're very important. One, if you take every human on the planet, well more than half do not have a gift marking. Doesn't mean that some of them aren't amazing people making a huge difference in the world, but anything that's unusual makes it important in the hands. Mm-hmm. Secondly, they're important because those markings help explain the how. The extra potential talent you have to help you fulfill your purpose and make the difference in the world that you're meant to make. And thirdly, they're important because they have student paths too. So they're kind of, so they're kind of a double-edged sword.
There's no free gifts.
No. So, the more gift markings you have, the more gifted you are, but also the more student paths you have to deal with. Mm. But when you're young, a lot of times gift markings are formed on the hand because you've earned them through life. Oh. So a baby can be born. There's a few you can be born with, but most you earn through life challenges and life situations. So not much else in the hands are going to change, but I would say if you're 30, mm-hmm. You're not, another hand analysis is really not going to give you that much more information to make it worth it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Like once you understand, what your purpose is and what you need to work through
and where to take action,
you're going to get on the right path.
Yeah. So that stuff's not going to change, right? All that important stuff, anything from the fingerprints is not going to change no matter how old you get.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of lends itself to, this journey that we're on. Of course, you're going to have your purpose and life lessons. And if you discover your purpose through that, it's not necessarily, actually, this is maybe a question, but what are the odds that you're going to fulfill it within a year? And then wipe your hands. Oh, I'm done.
Give me a new one.
You're never done doing your purpose.
Yeah,
right. That's what I was going to say. It's a continuation. You're constantly contemplating and being able to, I feel like, have a deeper awareness, because as you're changing, then you're also maybe life circumstances are changing. And not that that's a bad thing. I think that that's really good when you're able to see the manifest world change from the transformation that's happening inside.
Isn't that cool?
Oh my gosh. Isn't it again, mind-blowing that God source created it like this? Like, he's like, here, you want to create your universe? Go ahead.
Yeah. So to get back to that question, that's the way I do it. One, prepared, well thought out hand analysis. I know at least one other who says, you know, your whole life's in your hands, so you can't do that in one reading. I believe that she goes much deeper. So there's a place for that.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
My challenge, even with the ones that I do, is being careful not to overwhelm the client because there's so much information. So I don't want to go deeper. I don't think it's necessary unless somebody's got a big, hairy issue. And then I'm not a counselor, you know, I mean, I can give little things on it, but yeah, that's the way I do it. And I think it works best.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah. And again, you're empowering your clients to take action. Yeah. If they need to, you know, seek counseling, therapy, or just, you know, other coaches in different areas, that absolutely makes sense.
Well, and what I do is most definitely enough.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody really wants to go deeper into what I've already told them, then I would refer them to somebody else.
Gotcha.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So any other questions that you get from your clients that stand out before we kind of wrap up? Oh gosh, I feel like I still have so many questions, but
Well, just hit me. Yeah, I'm not really that we
covered a lot.
touched on. Of course I'll think of something as soon as we part ways.
That's all right. That we can always do a part two. This has been very enlightening. I can't.
You guys are great. This is really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, this fun. I'm so glad that I'm so glad that the universe brought us together, but I'm so glad that and thank you. If I didn't say this before, thank you for sharing about kind of your path and how, you know, the previous jobs weren't exactly in alignment, but you found this beautiful, truly, I think it's a gift that you can help others. And I think that
sorry, I interrupted.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was successful in my other careers too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
My point is, it's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're not fulfilled, it's just, for me, it wasn't enough.
Absolutely.
That's a great point.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. You mentioned that before. I agree. Not that happiness and enjoyment isn't a big driver and part of this experience. I could not agree more, but yeah, that fulfillment, it hits on that deeper level, right? It does. It almost mimics that kind of purpose. Yeah.
Another point. Okay. Dang it. Oh yeah. So in all this, I've got a lot of information in my hands. I have very complex hands. And one of the big points is that it's very important for me, you know, yes, you can make an argument that is very important for everybody, but for me, it's part of my purpose to make sure that I figure out what my passions are and what my desires are and bring those and joy into my life and my work and help others do the same. So here I am working my butt off, building this business, working. I had, you know, client appointments Monday through Friday. Weekends, I would work on my business. I had, you know, I have a horse. I ride almost every day. That's the little.
Yeah.
Because what part of nay don't you understand? Anyway. And I would only allow myself to ride on weekends. And I was getting burnt out. And then I'm like, oh, wait, you of all people, your purpose is not only to help others love their lives and work more, you're meant to love your life and work more. What would that look like? And I'm like, okay, I'm not taking clients now until noon. I'm gonna ride every day. Do you know that when I cut back my hours and started fulfilling that part of my purpose, my business stopped.
Yeah, less is more in that case. You know, we're human beings not human doings, and that's we're always trying to do this, but we forget to be who we actually are and what drives us in the pursuit of happiness and joy and what makes us laugh and sing and dance and all those things. So thank you for sharing that. That's a beautiful reminder. What a wonderful almost self-care tip. Like I've got to take care of me here. It's yes, do what you love, ride horses.
Huge.
Yes.
I can't, you know, and I'm like, I'm not being authentic, which is huge for me. Integrity is a big thing in my hands too. So I need to do what I'm telling my clients they need to do.
Yeah. Walk your walk.
Yeah.
Speak your truth, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's
Walk
a
your
wonderful
talk.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, something was a little bit off with that. What was that?
Oh my gosh, this has been so pleasurable, Jayne. I mean, really, it's just magical. Thank you for describing all of this. Thank you for giving us like the lowdown. It's been wonderful. And I think that you've got something to share, possibly a special offer for our audience and listeners.
I do. So, I mean, if anybody goes to my website, they will see that my retail price on a full analysis, so that's the 2 calls with me, the kit and all that, the recording, summary report, is about average for a master, and that's $497.
Okay.
So I would like to offer 100 off that.
Wow.
For your listeners, and yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And then they can just either contact me through my website or through the show notes, because you'll have the payment link in the show notes, which would be great too.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, we will link that, Jayne. That is a absolutely generous offer, and it's something that I think our listeners are going to jump at an opportunity to discover possibly a bigger purpose that their life may bring forward. So thank you for that. My goodness, we can't, I mean, to say that we got deep today, I think we did.
Oh, you guys had great questions. This has just been wonderful. This should be like the model.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you, Jayne, for joining us.